So our next big step is to unbox everything. Let's get everything figured out where we got, get the packing, the material out of the way. This first section we're taking out is going to be the sides. They're fairly heavy, but one person can pretty much handle it. Be nicer to have two people lifting it out, getting it up where it is. There's some extra parts in here, some poles that we're going to be using. But it's best to get everything kind of figured out what you all got before you look at the instructions so you can kind of make sure everything's there that you need. So we're at the crate. So here, these bands are metal, so you got to get something that will cut metal straps. Get all those cut so we can get the inside of the box opened up so we can figure out what we got inside now. The crate isn't pretty, it's pretty tough. I got to find a way to get this crate busted open. Ended up having to get the saw out to go ahead and cut down each side. Make sure you're using a power saw like I'm using. Make sure you don't cut any or hit any of the metal parts in there. Just cut down through the wood. Once we got that all done, I got ready to pull out the rest of the pieces so we can take a look and see what we've got inside this box. That, and we found out the lift we had is upside down. But it was easy to get all the parts out. Just get everything unpacked. That's the next step you really need to do, is just get everything unpacked so you can see what you've got so you can get ready to put this thing together. So we got it flipped over. It's going the wrong way. It's supposed to be in the back.
The what?
This is in the back.
Flip it around.
So we're going to get rid of all this junk, and tomorrow you'll see me put it together. See you later.
Bye.
So welcome to the next day. So we're starting all out here. We got the lift all turned around, taking a look at it here and just kind of figure out what the heck we've got going on here. So I got a lot of things that we got to do first. Best thing to do first is get those instructions out and take a look at them and see what the heck they all have inside them. Looking at the instruction book, you can kind of see here that this actually is for two different models that they have going on here. So you can kind of see that by looking at this one here on the cover, this is one that I pretty much have right here in front of us. So take a look inside the instructions here, and they got a lot of good information, but most of it in here is a lot of safety information. It's telling you how not to get killed, which you want to make sure. Kind of talks about the spaces that you need to put it in. Talks just a whole lot of different good information. Gives you the total weight of what the lift will do, what the size of it is, what temperatures you can go. There's a bunch of hazards and warnings that you need. You should take time and take a look and read through all these different safety items that they have inside here before you get ready to start putting this together, because nothing worse than something seriously happening when you're trying to put this guy together. So by looking through here, you can kind of see all the different things of how to set it up, some of the instructions of the step-by-steps to show you what you should do, how you should set everything up, and also in the back here, they also have some information that actually shows you a schematic, and so from there, we're gonna go ahead and start working on it. Right here is the air hose. So the air hose has its own unique connector on it. It's something different that I've never seen before, so it's going to plug right into the foot control. Up here in the front, they've got some zip ties. That's what holds together so the legs don't go flipping around on you while you've got it on its side or moving it around. So at this point, don't cut those off until we flip it back over on its side, flat down, to make sure we don't have any issues with it coming off the rollers. So from here, we're going to go ahead and get ready to lay it down, ready to be all the accessories put on it, get it built, get it down. It is fairly heavy. Sit it down nice and easy. Don't drop it on the floor. Could always use extra help. Here, I wanted the hose to go out the other side, so I ended up having to lift it from the other side to get the hose pulled out because I wanted it on this side, closest to the compressor. So right here is where the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get the foot peg together. You should always use some thread tape to put in your fitting. Use the fitting you've got that is gonna fit on your air hose that you're gonna hook it up to. Get a good wrench, tighten it up good and snug. Don't over tighten it, you don't wanna break anything. We're gonna go ahead and plug the foot pedal into the hose coming from the lift. Get that all situated. So at this point, as it's still sitting on the ground, I decided I'm gonna go ahead and put the extension on the front. I didn't measure my bike to figure out exactly the length I wanted to go. So when I laid the front piece on, I knew I might have the chance. I'm gonna mount it with the front on no matter what, but we're gonna get it figured out. There's actually 2 different mounting holes that you can mount it to. At this point, I'm gonna pull, I figured out the lift is a little too close to where I need it, so I'm gonna go ahead and move it back a little bit. The long poles now, you have one that you put through the bottom. It's a heavy, like a gas water pipe. It's got 2 caps on, one on each end. That is kind of the stabilizer for the lift. So before you kind of lift it up the first time, make sure you have this pipe in and kind of put it in there and have it centered. So, you know, we don't want to tip it over. Next, we're gonna go back up here to the front, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut the zip ties now off of the front wheels, because I wanna get this thing up in the air so it's a little bit easier to work on. It's got a bunch of safety issues. If you read the little tag here, it kind of gives you all that information telling you that you don't lift it up. Make sure that the wheels, there's some bearings there that run up and down on the slide. Make sure they're in place. If you did unhook these before and they got off, you want to make sure everything's in place. There's one zip tie on both sides of the wheels. Just take that off and then we'll be ready to lift it up. Here we go, our first lift job. So there we go, we got it to go up. Now the other thing you gotta look at is there's a safety bar here. You put this down, and this is what's going to be your safety to lock it on. So you make sure you do this every time. This little handle is what pulls it up when you're done using it to hold it up when you lower it. So go ahead and lower it down and get it into a lock position where you want it. And then go ahead and let all the air out of it so it's on its own weight. So now we're gonna start working on how I'm gonna figure out which way I'm gonna go. So after I looked at this, I decided I'm gonna go set it back 1 extra notch. So you see here, there's 2 holes that you could run this through to make it a little bit longer out. I decided I'm not gonna go that route at this time. I'm gonna keep it there. So they've got 4 bolts on each side that's gonna bolt it together. So let's go ahead and put it together. They've got some bolts, some washers, and we're gonna put those all in there, get them all lined up, and we're gonna get those all tightened up. All the holes pretty much line up pretty straight. There's not really, I didn't have any issues with trying to line anything up, but just kind of make sure that you get them all in, get them snug, get them all finger tight. I'm not gonna put any tools to tighten them up until I get all 4 bolts in, because some things don't always line up, and if you tighten one up, you might mess up and have trouble tightening them up. So now we run the pull through the center again, get it through. That way I know it's good and straight. Now we're gonna go ahead and put the air tool on here. I've got a cordless and a wrench. They're both 13 millimeters that you're gonna use, a 13 millimeter socket and a wrench. And I use the socket from the bottom, get it on there, and then use the wrench from the top so I can get a good grip on it and see when it's getting tightened. And I went around and did all that on all 4 bolts. In the instructions, there was no torque specs or anything for them. Do is go ahead and get the wheel chock installed. It's held by all the same bolts, so we put them all down. It's got nuts and washers, and the handle kind of goes backwards when it screws it in and out. Just kind of get everything lined up. The first leg has bolts. The second leg doesn't have any bolts. It actually is held in by the handle. And on one of the screws, I had to use a wrench to tighten up. Couldn't get in with the impact to tighten it all up. And went through and tightened up all the other screws. Then I went around and did all the tightening of all the screws. Same thing as I did on the other thing. Everything right here is still 13 millimeter. So there was no changing of the wrenches or the socket. And I went around, same thing. I didn't tighten any of the bolts up till I had everything in place. Because once again, sometimes the holes won't quite line up, and nothing more than fighting with something at the very end after you tightened everything all up. So at that, we pretty much got it all tightened up, and we got it all set and ready to go. In the front, there's actually another part that goes in the front to adjust your wheel. I didn't quite know where I was going to put it, so I just stuck it right on the very last one. You can't always rely on the wheel chock to hold your bike. What's most important, they give you a couple of eye hooks that you can install on the front and also on the back to hook your bike to. Once you get the wheel chock connected to your front tire, get the clamp in, you'll be able to run straps down, ratchet straps down to these eye hooks, which we'll show you later how we install those on our bike. You want to run those nice and tight, make sure they're good, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Next, we're going to go ahead and install the rear ramps. You have the main one that's going to be in the center. They just hook in. Not too difficult to install. Next, we're going to go ahead and install the sides on. You just line them up with the poles that you have that are sticking out. There's 2 poles, one you're going to have in the front, one in the back here. It has a cotter key that's on the back of it that you're going to install that on each end to hold the pipe in place while you're using them. Then you'll just be able to pull these pins out if you want to remove the sides on it. There's one on the front, and you'll end up with 4 pins all the way around, and we also have 2 legs in the back that we'll be installing in a few minutes. Now we're going to go around to the other side, and we're going to go ahead and install the sides on the other one. We're going to install the ramps here on this side, and like you can see here, they just slide in on the poles, and what you'll do is make sure they're nice and in straight, and you'll pull the poles out, and you'll put your new clips back on there too. Next, we're going to go ahead and slide these other 2 pipes in the back, and they're on each side in the very, very back before we put the ramp on each side. They slide in, and there's a hole in the bottom there, which is going to have a nut in there that you'll be able to tighten up. And once again, you put another clip on this side, push it in, and then we're going to go ahead and tighten up this nut right here with the air tool. Next, we're going to go ahead and install the next ramp. Like I say, they just slide right into place, and what they have here is they also have 2 bolts underneath that you need to attach to hook them together where they'll be nice and even. So on this side you can see there's 2 holes, and that's where we're going to put the 2 bolts in. These ramps don't really make any difference. They both have holes on both sides, so it doesn't matter which ones you put on. Slide it into the pins all the way down. This one lines up a little bit better, but it could be because that one's pulled up already. Same thing, we're going to put the bolts and nuts in here. I use my knee a little bit to kind of line it up. You might have to look underneath it to see the holes. And then what I'm going to do is tighten them up, and we'll be done with that. We're almost done with our lift. We still got to put our scratch pads on here. Scuff pad. We got one for this side, one for this side, one for the other side, and then one in the middle. That way when you're coming up, you got a little bit of traction going up. You're not going to spin your tire on that. So one more thing we got to finish up here at the end is we got to put our eye hooks in the back. They've got 2 holes back here, so you got to kind of watch when you're driving on, which you're going to drive on pretty straight anyway, so you shouldn't run over them. Hey, we forgot one thing. The jack they sent us. So on here they tell you do not use an air impact gun or a large cheater bar to raise your service jack. If you need this, it will void the warranty. What they do is they give you this little handy dandy wrench here that you should raise it with. And I can understand that because an impact is going to rattle it. So let's raise it up a little bit. Take a look at it. So you got some extensions we can put on it too to get in to those hard to reach places, or if you need to get a certain area lifted. So we got different size depending on what you need. And then you slide these to adjust them. Pretty slick, huh? Pretty slick. So it looks like it's going to work pretty good. The idea is just to get the bike up off the ground if you need to change tires or you're cleaning the bike, you want to turn your wheels, things like that. One of the reasons I wanted to get something wider like this is because I'm hoping that the majority of the bikes that I'm bringing in here, I'm going to be riding them up on the ramp. So you need a place to put your feet, because if you lose your balance on here, it's a little bit of a drop. Even when it's sitting on the floor, it's a little bit of a drop to fall. So with the sides here, there'll be a good place I can put my feet down. I can even put the kickstand down to get everything set up, versus if I'm by myself, more likely I'm not going to be able to drop the bike. That's kind of why I wanted something wider. Other nice thing is we got the ATVs here. We're going to bring those on here and do the work on them to get ready to sell those. So it's got some really good features that I like about this. One of the things I liked about it is it came with the accessories. You know, you get the jack with it to where I can jack the bike up if I need to do that. I've also got the wheel cock that comes with it. It was very easy to put together. Didn't have any real trouble with it. The instructions didn't show you every single thing to do, So you got to kind of look at a little bit of it. They got a picture in the back that kind of shows you where all the parts and stuff are, but they're also comparing this to different models. Because it's kind of like here, I didn't know where these went off right off bat, thinking about it. Well, then they showed you a little picture here, and I'm like, oh, okay, it must be once you pulls it up, it comes on. So it kind of made a little bit more sense. So hopefully a video like this will help you to be able to put this together. But I mean, it was fairly simple. You know, we got it off the truck yesterday, you seen that. It says it weighs about 600 pounds with all of that. So once we got all the ramps and the jacks and all that stuff off first, me and Tam were able to kind of get it maneuvered around, and we rolled it up here first. I didn't realize that the air hose, I had to get it out right away, so I probably did a couple steps I didn't really need to do, where it would have been best once we got it in set, you could roll it up on one side, you could get the air hose, get everything ready there, and then drop it down, cut the zip ties in the front, and then you're ready to raise it and get it all going together. Might have done it a little different. Also seen that they had a little pin here too, I didn't see that. They got all these little holes at the bottom, so once you raise it up, you can do the same thing. It's safety. It's always about thinking about safety. You know, if you're just like me, if I'm in the garage here working by myself, and the bike came down on me or fell on me, it'd be a little tough unless I got my phone right around with me to be able to call. So you make sure you always do all the safety things. Just like here, there's a lock to put on it. Lower it back down till it locks down. Use the pin in here if you need to use that. Make sure all the safety devices are here. We're going to show you the straps. I got to go get some straps. I want to get some shorter ones because I don't want the 15-foot ones that we have, and I don't really want to cut them down. So I'm going to go out and pick up some that are only like 6 foot long or as short as I can find. And then that's what I'm going to use to strap the bike down. Last thing we need to do is install the scuff pads. It's kind of like sandpaper. Now some people are real particular and they want to measure it and get it exactly right. I'm not that particular. If Tam was here, she would be measuring it all out. I'm pretty good at just putting it on and let it flow. So we'll get it down here to the bottom because it's probably going to be more important. We're going to go about half and half on this. There. Once it's stuck, it's stuck. I didn't have any choice of picking it up again. Alright, so we'll do the same thing with this one. We'll kind of get it about on the side here. Try not to get the air bubble in that one. There we go. We did that one right. You know, just like it was supposed to. We get the big wide one here. So get it about the center. Get it about the same height. Run that across there. Now what you do is you hold it down, get it nice and straight, and as you pull, you'll be applying pressure on this. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the install. Everything kind of worked out good. I had to drill a couple of the pinholes out to get them just quite where I wanted to get them at. Other than that, everything kind of went together, had no real issues with it. Instructions could have been just a little bit better, but maybe by watching this video, this will help you put yours together and be a little quicker, and you won't have to do so much looking around trying to figure out what you do. But definitely read the instructions first, get their information on what they have, and then check out the video and it'll give you a little bit more help on putting this thing together. We're going to show you a little bit later. Don't know if it'll be on this video or not. Us putting the bike on it, tying it down, showing you how to do all that. That'll be coming up soon. So with that, we're going to leave you with our install and open the crate and all that good stuff. So thanks for watching The Bob and Tam Show. I guess it didn't pull the little thing down. Gotta come around and gotta pull the. Little lever. You gotta pop down that's the lock. So then once you get it where you want it, now we lower it back down. There you go. Good and stationary now. We're ready to work on the bike. In this case, we're going to clean it.